Well, Scott Anderson is the Director of Affairs for the UN Relief and Works Agency in Gaza. He joins us live from Gaza. Scott, great to have you with us. Tell us, what are you learning from your local staff on the ground about this latest attack, and do you have a definitive death toll?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. And unfortunately, we don't have definitive details on the strike that took lives yesterday at the school in Gaza City. Unfortunately, the UN has not been in the north in any presence since October 12th of 2023. What we do see is a trend of schools being hit across Gaza. There were 17 such incidents in July. And as always in this conflict, it's the innocent civilians who suffer the most when the parties to the conflict don't respect the sanctity of schools and hospitals.
As you say, 17 schools, at least 17 schools, which have been turned into shelters, have been targeted over this past month. It would seem there is no place safe in Gaza.
Well, that's correct. Unfortunately, there is no place safe in Gaza. In my role, I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of people across Gaza. I met a woman and her family who said she was from the north, and they told her to move to Raqqa, she would be safe. And then they told her to move to Mawasi and she would be safe. And unfortunately, she lost one of her children, and another of her children were seriously injured in an incident that took place in Mawasi. What we've seen is shrinking space for innocent civilians to find safety for themselves, for their families, and that's all they want. They just want somewhere safe to be until the conflict ends. And what is very much needed at this moment is a ceasefire, a deal that would return the hostages, and then allow people in Gaza to begin meaningfully rebuilding their lives.
I want to talk about that ceasefire, elusive ceasefire deal. Obviously, there are going to be talks later this week about that. But firstly, Israel has defended the strike, claiming that the school was a base for Hamas and another militant group. What is your response to that?
I mean, we say what we've always said, that all parties to the conflict, that includes Israel, Hamas, or any other organizations, need to stay out of the schools. They need to respect the sanctity of the schools, and they need to respect the sanctity of the hospitals, as well as anywhere that civilians congregate trying to find safety. The only way we can keep people safe is indeed by doing that, by respecting the schools, by making sure nobody that's armed is in there, similar to the hospitals. So the innocent civilians, while we wait hopefully for a ceasefire soon, can have safety for themselves and for their families until such time as the conflict ends.
Scott, an IDF chief spokesperson said there were no women or children present when they struck that school. From doctors' accounts and obviously from the footage that we have seen of the wounded in the hospital, that is just plain false.
Well, as I said, we weren't there, but I would be quite surprised if in a school where families are seeking shelter from the violence that's going on across Gaza, there weren't women and children. Children make up nearly half the population in Gaza. Women are probably a quarter of the population. Just by pure statistics alone, it's very likely that women and children were present. Again, we can't verify that, but I think it is pretty likely women and children were there at the school, because that's where they would most likely be as they sought shelter from the conflict and tried to find safety for themselves and for their families.
Scott, the head of UNRWA, the organisation that you work for, Filippo Lazzarini, he has said on social media, it is time for these horrors unfolding under our watch to end. He goes on to say, we cannot let the unbearable become a new norm. And yet I guess it has become the norm as this war now enters its 11th month with really no end in sight. What is your appeal?
I mean, that's an unfortunately apt description by Philippe. The unbearable has become the new normal, especially for women and children in Gaza. We're past 10 months now of this conflict where they're unable to find safety. They don't have access to clean drinking water. I'm sure they're very concerned about an outbreak of disease, as we are. There's piles of garbage across Gaza, and it's very much becoming somewhere that's unlivable. So the intolerable, the unbearable has for them become the new norm. That's their life every day when they wake up and just try to survive and find their basic necessities. And I hope that this horrible incident will get the international community to help push through a ceasefire that's so desperately needed. would provide safety for people here in Gaza, would return the hostages to their families, and hopefully we can then all move on to rebuilding Gaza, which is going to be a very daunting and long task.
Scott, you are obviously appealing for a ceasefire along with so many other humanitarian groups and countries around the world watching this war unfold. But what is the likelihood of a positive outcome of the upcoming ceasefire talks in the wake of this attack?
I mean, I think what it does is it really underscores the need for a ceasefire now. As I said, the innocent civilians are the ones that have suffered, especially women and children. After 10 months, I very much hope that they can find common ground, the parties to the conflict, to bring about a ceasefire. And it's not only for the people here in Gaza, it's also to return the hostages to their families who've also been waiting for 10 months. So I think that there are hopefully positive motivations on both sides of the discussion that will bring about a ceasefire, which is so desperately needed for everyone so they can begin rebuilding their lives.
Well, Scott, we know that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he has said that he will send a delegation for these talks, but have we heard anything from Hamas? What are you hearing?
Well, unfortunately, we don't hear much at all from Hamas, or maybe that is fortunate. I do hope they will send a delegation that will take the talk seriously. It's positive to hear that the government of Israel is sending a delegation that we also hope will take the talks seriously. Only through this dialogue are we going to find an end to this conflict. You have to be, I think, somewhat positive to continue to work here in Gaza. So I'm going to remain optimistic that a ceasefire is close. It will provide, as I said, what is needed, which is safety for the innocent civilians here in Gaza, as well as return of the hostages. The most important thing is that they will start the discussions. If the discussions aren't happening, there's no possibility of a ceasefire. So we're very pleased and welcome that discussions will take place, and we hope it brings about a positive outcome.
Yeah, obviously, a dialogue is essential for there to be any developments. Scott, you touched on this earlier, the conditions that people are living under. And as I mentioned, this is now dragged into, it's 11th month. Obviously, the hostages, they are still being held. We know that the toll in Gaza is now reaching, 40,000 dead. Explain to us the conditions that people within Gaza are having to exist in.
I mean, it's almost hard to explain, and it almost defies description, to be very honest. I mean, the scale of destruction is like something out of a dystopian science fiction movie set. As you drive around Gaza, there's rubble quite literally everywhere, and there's also garbage everywhere that we desperately need to get picked up. There's not enough clean drinking water for people. They should have at least 15 liters of water a day or access to that, and people are getting maybe 2 or 3. And the most, I guess, troubling thing we see from our perspective is the possibility of an outbreak of disease. We've seen a significant rise in hepatitis A. Polio has been detected, and UNRWA, WHO, and UNICEF are going to work together to try to provide 1.2 million vaccinations to children under 10. The prevalence of skin disease is quite high, and people really, they don't have access to adequate cleaning supplies or ways to disinfect the things that they cook with, the things that they eat with. I've been to hospitals after significant casualty events. I was at Nasser, and you can quite literally smell the blood in the air, and they're trying to clean blood with nothing more than hot water. It's very much a hospital in name only, because they just don't have the supplies they need to treat people in a way that we would take for granted. And it's just, every sector you talk about that people rely on to provide their basic necessities so they can live in dignity is at the point of failure, if not failed already. And for everybody, every day is a struggle merely to survive, to find food, to find water, to find a way to clean themselves and their families, and to find a bathroom. And that's what everyone faces every day when they get up and go about their lives here in Gaza.
Well, Scott Anderson, we certainly appreciate you explaining to us what life is like there in Gaza for the millions who are having to live that every single day. And we thank you for the work that you and UNRWA is doing. And we also thank you for your optimism. Scott Anderson in Gaza, many thanks.
Thank you very much.
Stay with CNN, much more.